Hello, yes, hi everybody, and again, welcome to this fifth episode indeed of the VegfestUK live chat that comes out on a 5 p.m. Friday at irregular intervals during what has been this fairly extensive lockdown period that is coming to an end for some, extended to others. But my very warm wishes from everyone here at the Vegfest camp to everybody listening, especially if you're listening live, thank you for tuning in today. And if you're listening later and just catching up, very warm welcome from VegfestUK HQ here in Bristol. Shortly to be joined by my co-presenter, who I am really so very fortunate to have on board with me. Karin Ridgers is waiting in the wings, going to join me in about a period of time, just enough for me to just say once more how much I value Karin, how inspirational I find Karin to be too. Karin's got a very busy family life, as a lot of us have, and during this lockdown period especially, has absolutely inspired and shown fantastic leadership qualities. And here she is, Karin Ridgers, straight out of
thank you. Again, a lovely introduction as I was sitting here waiting in the wings, trying to take a selfie to tell everyone to tune in. So professional. But yeah, another 3 weeks and here we are with VegfestUK Chat. I get to hang out with Tim and some of my most favourite people on the planet. And we hope our lovely viewer enjoys it too. We really appreciate your comments and your support. And yes, we are live, aren't we, Tim?
We are indeed, yeah. We're live, coming out on this wonderful StreamYard format, which we are very fortunate to use. It's great to be able to connect really with so many people. This is one of the benefits, of course, of the last few months, is we have really been able to extend an audience and learn to use these wonderful options. And of course, with the online Summerfest, our first venture into online vegan events. And this is again, something pretty positive coming out of lockdown. Of course, we've lost our events at live venues, as have many people. And we are online with VegfestUK Summerfest Online. It's going to take place online on August 14th, 15th, 16th. It's free to attend. And Karin, very soon, in fact, almost in about 30 seconds, we're going to be announcing our headline act. My goodness. But of course, you can register online. It's free to attend. VegfestUK Summerfest Online.
Really excited. I cannot wait. I'm so excited for the trade day as well as the whole weekend. It is going to be fantastic. And look who we have here, Mr. B. You're internationally famous.
I know. I really can't wait for this. This is going on. This is another online event. And this is going to be taking place, Vegfest Morocco, taking place this time next week, actually, for the whole weekend, 4 days. There's an English day, there's an Arabic day, and 2 French days. I've been invited to speak, representing the UK, speaking about going global, the development of the vegan social movement, and I am practicing my schoolboy French to be able to say bienvenue. I've had decimal practice. I'll be able to say hello and welcome and basic good manners in French before going into a talk. So that's going to be in a week online, Vegfest Morocco, and it's just awesome. You know, we're going to be talking to people from Syria, from Lebanon, from Algeria, from Morocco, of course, from Egypt, a lot of North African countries. Absolute honour to be partaking.
Oh, it's wonderful. I hope lots of people can go and find them on Facebook. Go and have a check out of what they're up to, support and join in if you can. I just want to go there in person, don't you? Vegfest Morocco.
That's the I'd absolutely love to be there in person in a live event. But honestly, it's going to be so fun to be able to come in on a truly global platform, and this is one of the big benefits about going forward. about, being able to reach people beyond just a live event, which in some respects is restricting. There's not everybody can get to these live events, and I'm very happy that the online option allows people with disabilities and people with illnesses and people who are carers and people who have logistics or budget or transport issues or a whole multitude of reasons. Maybe they're looking after their animals at home, or they have childcare, or dependents, a number of reasons. And of course, now with the advent of the pandemic, it's just, for a lot of people now, actually a live event even more is something that's just not attainable right now. So online, here we go. And our headliner, I believe, is just about to be unveiled. I mean, Karin, this is you who's done it, and here he is. Oh my gosh!
OMG! I've seen Maccabee perform quite a few times at VegfestUK, and he just takes the atmosphere to the next level. He's such a cool, genuine guy. He's been on my radio show. I've had the pleasure to work with him, and yes, Maccabee is headlining on the Sunday for VegfestUK Summerfest Online. How lucky are we?
Yeah, thrilled. Maccabee, obviously, as you can see, played Vegfest a number of times. This picture is actually in 2007. I can swear I spoke to him the other night. He hasn't looked any different. That's all the wonderful fruit, vegetables, and all the stuff like the plant-based diet that have been promoting between us all for a number of decades now. And of course, our second headliner too, we've just chatted to, which we're pretty thrilled about, is none other than the wonderful Adamski, of course, we had on just a couple of months ago on this very chat show, indeed. Adamski, here he is from 1990. Celebrating 30 years of Killer, of course, this year, which is a huge hit, #1 hit. And what's lovely about this, Karin, is that basically both these guys are coming on, and they'll be on a live chat beforehand on our shows. Indeed, you and I will be hosting them both. And then they've got a set too. So that's the idea. So you can come along for free, August 15th, 16th, catch Adamski on a Saturday and Maccabee on a Sunday.
Oh, it's brilliant. Again, when I first met Adamski, he said he was interested in going vegan. That was at Vegfest Bristol, and we exchanged a few emails. A couple of years later, he is so passionate about being vegan, and we are delighted that he's headlining as well with us. Really exciting news.
Yeah, so that's Maccabee and Adamski headline on our show. We've got more than just the music, though. We've got some fantastic comedy, which is really probably, just what a lot of people would like to see. And of course, comedy right now is quite challenging because comedians, the lifeblood of comedians, we know, is their audience. They love their audience. Yeah. And to try and perform without their audience, we're so lucky to have Ishi. Ishi's going to be doing a little set for us. Ishi Khan Jackson, here resplendent in a wonderful smiley mask, which of course marks the day when mask wearing becomes mandatory in the UK in a number of outlets. Of course, a very divisive subject. I'm actually not very comfortable wearing a mask, but I do support wearing a mask, especially to help protect people who are vulnerable and people who are working, of course. So there you go. Ishi, we will be seeing you shortly. Fantastic. And another fantastic comedian that we will have appearing live on a show on a Saturday at the Summerfest on the 15th of August, free to attend. And that is Adele Cliff. And Adele Cliff is a wonderful comedian we've had at Vegfest a number of times. And we're very lucky to have.
Adele is brilliant. I've seen her when she came locally down my way in Essex. She's appeared at Vegfest many times. She's a very, very popular comedian. And I think we are seeing somebody, and I've told her this and she told me to shut up. I think we are seeing someone who is going to be an absolute superstar before too long. I think she's utterly brilliant, and I am a big fan of hers. So I'm really pleased that Adele is going to be joining us at Summerfest.
Yeah, and you'll be able to go online. You can register for Summerfest, said it's free. Go to VegfestUK Chat. And there'll be a number of comedians. There's also musicians. We mentioned the headliners, Maccabee, Adamski. So it's going to be Jen Armstrong doing a set. And the combination is, the way it works here is there's a pre-recorded set that you can watch any time. There's also a live stream at a certain appointed time. And then there's also the chat room. So you can probably come and chat to some of the guests, including Jen here, also known as Queen V, winner of the Effective Factor of Brighton 3 years ago. Karin, you were on that panel. You know Jen. You remember that indeed, isn't it? A famous achievement indeed.
Oh, it was wonderful. I mean, we had brilliant judges. We had a packed room, and the level of entertainment, the level of how brilliant the performers were, it was just so difficult because they were all winners to us. But yeah, this lovely lady, she just stole the show, and again, really talented. And we get to hang out with her at Summerfest as well. So brilliant news.
Yeah, so that's a quick roundup of some of the entertainment. You've got music, comedy, you can come online, go for free, you can join in. And that is so. And Karin, there's also a lot of exhibitors here. However, on a little sad note, we have to change subject, because last show we had, indeed, we mentioned a number of our stallholders, and of course at Summerfest you will be seeing a number of stallholders. And we had Uvo Skincare on 3 weeks ago, and very sadly, a day later, Edith, the founder of Uvo Skincare, passed away, and has left a partner and 3 children. The business is carrying on. They're still in business, and we're very, very sad, all of us, to hear this news. I know there's a number of our exhibitors too who have expressed their condolences, to pass on support for the family, and warm wishes from everyone at Vegfest, and of course the extended communities, other shows, and the exhibitors, the people who've been next door to Edith. It's very, very sad news, and we did want to mark the occasion just by mentioning this and saying how much we wanted to express our warm wishes to the family. And there you go. But so Karin, yeah, we have a number of other exhibitors, and none more so than Nairn's Oat Biscuits. They will be exhibiting. Have you tried Nairn's before?
Firm favourite of mine. Love this brand. As far as I know, they are all gluten-free. The oats come from Scotland, so we're supporting, local companies, Scottish companies as well. Love their chocolate chip cookies. They taste naughty, but they're not as naughty as what you think they're going to be. Yeah, it's going to be great to have them on board. I look forward, obviously, to a coming Vegfest when they're there in person and we can get to try all of their products as well. This particular product as well, the coconut and chia, I know it's very low in sugar. Their products are just really tasty and, yeah, suitable for breakfast, for lunch, for dinner, for snacks. They're very handy.
And another exhibitor we have at the Summerfest who we're going to be seeing is Free From Italy, who do the Pasta Italia range. Free From Italy, lovely firm, coming to our shows for a number of years now. They have a great range, and it's got this passion for food that people who are vegan and are foodies and also gluten-free just really, really relish. I've got to say, I've tried a number of their products, and they are really, really good. The sauces. Yeah. I'm a big fan of their risotto rice, actually. The arboria rice. It's just wonderful.
Lovely. And their sauce right at the end, the green one, the green pesto, absolutely gorgeous. I remember buying a massive box of their goodies, packed full to take home after one of the Vegfests. I think it was Brighton. They are amazing products.
And Annabelle Minerals is another of our stallholders. We've never had Annabelle Minerals before. They do this awesome makeup range. They're based in Poland, actually. This is one of the beauties of the Summerfest online, is that we can attract now some really, really amazing brands that are not always been able to come over for the live events because they don't live in the UK. And Annabelle Minerals is one of them. So, you know, you can come to Summerfest, you can do some shopping, you can come and have a look at their range. There should be some really good special offers on. There's some really snazzy looking stalls to visit. It's quite fun, actually. You know, it's going to be it's a bit like kids at Christmas, you know, with all the presents wrapped up. And it is going to be fun, especially the first one. I think visitors will be in for a nice surprise. So, Annabelle Minerals, makeup.
Yeah. Their products look really good. I haven't tried them yet, but I really am looking forward to trying them. And these guys as well, it's a really big thing. It's one of my bugbears, actually, because a lot of candles contain animal products, and it's something I looked into over 25 years ago. So it's lovely to see more ranges coming out that are not based on animal fats. If you think about it, you don't eat animal products. Why on earth would you set fire to animal fats in your room? Doesn't make sense. This brand looks lovely.
Talou, yes, indeed. We know Talou. They've got a lovely range. They're handmade. They're in London, and a number of, you know, example of one of these sort of up and coming, really passionate businesses with a beautiful product and a really good ethos, and really wanting to get out there, and slightly limited at the moment because there's so few events. Although some of the markets are coming back, which is obviously helpful. And so, Karin, let's just do a really quick roundup again of some of the exhibitors that you can see at Summerfest in 3 weeks' time on August 15th, 16th. And remember, people, again, I just emphasise, free to attend. So why not? And of course, quite a good opportunity to bring along somebody who's maybe not vegan. So if you're vegan already, there will be quite a lot of information. There's indeed a whole area called New Vegan Support. There'll be a live stream on the Sunday at 3 o'clock about, you know, specifically for New Vegan Support. So if you are new to veganism, or you're not quite sure about, you know, some of the plant-based diets and such like, you know, you can come along. This is another great facet of the online event. It's free to attend, which means people who are curious about this way of life can come along and get, you know, a really good range of inspiration, information, education, and entertainment. And talking of entertainment, Karin Richards, we have waiting in our wings our first guest. And I have to thank you again, because it's you who has brought our fabulous first guest to the table, as it were, or to the Vegfest live chat today. A most esteemed entertainer. Karin, could you do the honours of just before we bring in our guest, could you just spend a minute telling us, everybody, how wonderful our guest is?
Well, you know, everybody that I talk to absolutely loves this brilliant voice for the animals, fantastic actor that I think he said to me that he's been acting for about 50 flipping years. You would never think of it at all because he looks so amazing. Peter Egan, he supports Vegfest, he comes to Vegfest, he campaigns for the animals. I met him and we went to a wet nose event because I'm an ambassador for Wet Nose Animal Aid, and people were queuing up to meet Peter Egan. He's utterly lovely, and I don't want to gush too much because he knows I'm a big fan of his. But yeah, lovely. I'm really excited to hang out with Peter on this Friday. Yay!
Hi, Jim. How are you?
Hello.
Can you hear me?
Yes.
Yeah, I can hear you. I can listen to that voice all day.
Thank you, Karin, for that wonderful introduction. That's very kind of you. It's actually, I'm sorry to say, it's about 54 years, actually. So there you go. It was money well spent on my behalf for that introduction. Thank you.
Peter, you're a brilliant supporter and a fantastic voice for the animals.
Thank you.
And, you know, you are very much loved before, I think, the animal campaigning, of course, and, you know, afterwards as well while you're doing it. I want to find out really what this means for you. And I know we've spoken about it before, but just really to kick it off, it's such a bizarre time at the moment. How are you and your family all getting on and coping?
Yeah, well, we're really getting on. It's been a remarkable period of time, and we have 5 rescue dogs, and they've been having the most wonderful time because I've never been at home so often.
Oh.
So they've fallen into a really wonderful sort of emotional pattern, which is they tell me when they want to go for a walk, or they tell me when they want a drink, or they tell me if they want something to eat. And it's been just fabulous. And it's been great to spend so much time with Myra, my missus. And for the first 13 weeks, we had our daughter Rebecca with us. She's now gone back to her own home with her son, who's a teenager, and who'd been with his dad for a period of time. And I'm lucky that, you know, we have a big garden, and I live quite close to, just next door to a wood. And so, you know, it's just a gift to be able to spend time enjoying and seeing life. I mean, I have been incredibly busy online with all of the, you know, the charities that I support. So my day has been really, you know, from the moment I get up until about now, it has been engaged with campaigning, really, and walking dogs and eating vegan food.
Oh, that's amazing. What was the turning point for you? And I know we're probably going to chat and we're going to see some slides coming up and everything, so I'm not sure about the time, but what was the turning point for you, Peter? What was that you thought, I need to be vegan?
You mean the turning point to becoming vegan, giving up eating flesh, you mean? Well, that was very positively. And now that I've been a vegan for certainly 6 years, but I gave up eating meat just over 10 years ago, and that was after watching that remarkable documentary, Earthlings. I watched it one morning, and Myra, my wife, came into the kitchen while I was watching it, and I was just in a state of shock. And she said, "What's the matter?" And I said, "I've just seen the most devastating documentary in my entire life." And I said, "Then I'm never, ever going to eat meat again." And I haven't. And I wasn't a big meat eater, but I would say that I would have, now it sounds like a big meat eater, because I would have eaten meat certainly 3 or 4 times a week. But what shocks me is how my cognizance was so absent in terms of relating what I was eating to where it was coming from. And we had been rescuing dogs for 15 years up until that point, and I adored animals, and I really deeply felt that I was a compassionate animal lover, but I didn't join up the dots between what I was eating and the animals I was eating, because I kind of believed all the guff, I suppose, or maybe subconsciously I didn't want to engage with it. But, you know, you just get this sense, you see all these happy cows, you know, jumping around the field, and the smiling dairy cows who can't wait for you to have their milk, and that all of that kind of that kind of advertising, if you don't feel inclined to engage, or you're too busy, you believe that's what they're there for. So you don't until you see the pain, until you see the grotesque way that these wonderful creatures are slaughtered, if you see their lives, and certainly in intensive animal agriculture, the cruelty, the betrayal of all the 5 freedoms. I mean, once you kind of once that hits you there, then you have no choice. You know, you can't eat them. And then also, once I had watched that film, I suppose you have 4 of my dogs there. The blonde is Pippa, and the next one is Cassie, and the next one is Titus, and the one with the red collar is Boo.
Oh.
Titus is a street dog from Sarajevo that we rescued about 9 years ago. And Pippa was a dog that my wife saw on Facebook, and she looked absolutely terrified. And Myra said, "I think we should foster this dog." So I said, "Well, look, we've got 6 dogs at the moment. How many more are we going to have?" And I said, "Okay, we'll foster her." Well, she was in our house for 5 minutes, and I said, "We are no longer fostering this dog."
Oh.
And I fell in love with her anyway. And this is just wonderful, a great gift in my life. Another great gift. Ricky Gervais was brilliant, and of course the wonderful Tony Wilton, and this is Afterlife, which was just such a pleasure and an honour to be a part of it. And I was delighted that my great friend Ricky asked me if I would be in it, and mainly because he loved Ever Decreasing Circles.
Yeah.
And he wanted to put myself and the character of Anne together. Anyway, that kind of drew me off from my. I was getting terribly upset thinking about animals just then, so it's very good that there was this kind of diversity. Otherwise, I might not have been able to speak.
Oh, Peter, you're going to make me cry, and I've got my makeup on.
And you look lovely too, Karin. So don't. That, in terms of transitioning into a plant-based diet, that's when it started. But I slowly, over a period of time, I was still stuck with dairy and chocolate, cheese and chocolate, and all that. Now, I mean, after I haven't had cheese or chocolate for over 6 years, and cheese, the actual smell of cheese makes me feel ill. And there are so many wonderful vegan cheeses, and I just find the whole way of the plant-based diet is such a creative, interesting, and clean diet that I feel physically so much better. And here you've got Lola Webber, the young lady. You've got Rick Wakeman, the great Rick Wakeman, who I adore, and my wife Myra. That's in our garden, and I work a huge amount with Lola because she does so much work stopping the dog meat trade in South Korea. And she works with HSI on that, Humane Society International, and she has her own charity called Change for Animals Foundation, for which I'm a patron. There we are, the most wonderful Juliet, and she is Juliet. I mean, such an inspiring founder of Viva, of course, and you know her better than I do. I think she's an amazing woman. We had lunch there. We just had finished lunch at a very, very good vegan restaurant just off Marble Arch a couple of years ago. I just am so thrilled every day to follow the most creative and the most constructive lifestyle, which is a plant-based lifestyle. And what I was thinking today, actually, was two things happened. A couple of days ago, I was in a queue at a supermarket, and a young lady, we were both wearing masks. This young lady came up and she just said, "Excuse me." She stood at a suitable distance. And she said, "Excuse me, you're Peter Egan, aren't you?" I said, "Yeah, yes, I am." And she said, "I just want to say thank you because you inspired me to become a vegan 3 years ago. And it's the best decision I've ever made." And she said, "Look at that wonderful donkey." See, this is what it's all about, isn't it? This is why you can't eat this beautiful. Look at that beautiful little cow there. I mean, just wonderful. How can anyone ever think of either one being cruel to them and two eating them? Anyway, so I was so touched by this lovely young woman saying that I'd inspired her to be a vegan. It was the best choice she'd made, and she loved the lifestyle as indeed as I do. And today I was out getting some other stuff again, and I suddenly thought that when we had totally decided to go vegan, I went into a similar supermarket to the one that was in today, and I was asking one of the assistants about a certain product I was looking for, and it might have been that those two brothers who do that great the stuff for the vegan range for Tesco. What are they called? What's the range called? It's
Bosch.
Not Bosch, no, the American guys, the tattooed American guys. Yeah, that's it, Wicked, yeah. Yeah, Wicked, sorry. I mean, I know them so well, and they produce such great food. Anyway, I was asking the assistant in Tesco, funny enough, about Wicked. And this, you just saw my wife, Myra, just go past her.
Hello, Myra.
Hello, Myra. Hello. This is Karin. And that's Pippa saying hello as well. So I apologize to everyone. You'll soon get a lot of barking. And so I said to this woman, do you have the Wicked range? And she said, what is that? Is that a magazine, or is it, with some kind of something a bit hairy? And I said, oh no, I said it's a plant-based vegan range. And she said, oh what? I said, a vegan range. And she said, are you a vegan? And I said, I am. She said, oh dear, I'm so sorry. I said, what are you sorry about? You have to be sorry. She said, well, don't go down that road. She said, well, what can you eat? And the only reason I was reflecting on that today was back in a superstore, a supermarket, and here in front of me is the most amazing range of vegan food and choices. And I was just thinking in the last 3 years, how fast this, I mean, you know this better than I do. You've been at it for years, both of you. But how fast this lifestyle has moved. And I was standing there looking at something, and someone was choosing something. I said, have you tried that? And they said, oh, no, I haven't. I said, you should try that. I said, are you a vegan? And they said, yes, yeah, I am a vegan. And I said, how long have you been a vegan? And they said, a year. And I thought, this is the most wonderful thing to do when you're out shopping. Because 2 years ago, you say that to someone, and they go, oh, dear, no, don't do that. But now people say, yeah, it's great, I love it. And it is, I mean, it is just the most exciting, delicious, compassionate and creative way of living than I can imagine. And I've said it often and often before, my one and only regret is that I didn't do it 50 years sooner. But then,
that's what every vegan says ever. Everybody says, why didn't I just do it sooner? It's the best decision you will ever make.
Indeed. But of course, you guys did it when it was really hard.
No, for me, Peter, it's never been hard. If you want fast food, eat a flipping banana. You know, okay, we couldn't buy a sandwich, make your own. It's not rocket science. So, you know, over 25 years, it's never, ever been a problem.
Is it not?
I'm not feeling that wealthy, it's beans on toast. If I am feeling wealthy, then it's my organic greens and feeling good.
But if you think of the amount of fast food available now, and if you think about, I mean, was there a great mayonnaise 25 years ago?
Yes, from Planil.
Really?
Yeah. So we had 25 years ago, and Tim will agree, we had, you know, there was a vegan Viennetta, you know, that ice cream. There was loads of different ice cream flavors. There was dairy-free milk. There was cheese, you know, but there wasn't as many, but that didn't matter because, you know, you were supporting that small business. And so what if you went to the local health store? I was really happy supporting that. You're being phoned. Is that your agent?
You know what the game changer was?
It's gone now. I was about to say sorry about the phone.
The game changer in the 80s was...
Say again. Say, Tim, what did you say?
The game changer in the 80s was hummus. You could get hummus just about everywhere. So if you forgot...
That was amazing. Well, the whole
you were in London, and he was like, you know, I lived in London in the 80s at times, and I remember, like, you know, 2 o'clock in the morning, it'd be like, oh yeah, go get yourself a hummus kebab from the local kebab shop, and hummus was the game changer because we all love hummus. I've never met a vegan that doesn't like hummus. In fact, I should be elaborating about the wonders of hummus at Vegfest Morocco in a week's time online, because hummus is something I think, you know. So when you've got things like hummus, it's like, no, I never remember it being very hard going vegan.
Yeah, well, that's great.
But
I do remember, if I could just say quickly, in terms of contradicting myself, When I was a kid in the 50s, about 1958, I was in North London, and there used to be a small, like a hole in the wall, called the Two Brothers on the Finchley Road. And they were Greek Cypriots, and they used to do those magnificent falafels with all that.
Nice.
That was the first, and now I'm just thinking about it, that was the first vegan meal I think I ever had. And I remember thinking that was delicious. So that should have actually given me a clue 50 years ago, shouldn't it?
Oh. So what
Karin, before we go on, because you know what, we've been chatting for a while, and we've got Juliet waiting in the wings for us. So I don't want to go too long, but before we go to Peter, I did want to just ask you about that. You touched on something there about, you know, vegan. You've got the so many different cultures there. You're seeing now veganism go global, and just in a very short minute or so, do you think, what do you see? Do you see there's any barriers, or do you see this vegan thing really going global? Do you think anything's going to hold it back?
I do think that fear of losing the status quo is going to hold it back for a bit. Also, because there is so much money invested in animal agriculture. It is a $1 trillion a year business. Nobody's going to give that up easily. And if you think it's a bit like Donald Trump, he's not going to give up being the president of the White House. He's going to say it's all a hope. So I do think, I think one of the hardest things that we have to deal with in life is changing the status quo, because people are frightened of losing what makes them comfortable. And I find this is a problem all the time when I'm dealing with animal rights / animal welfare issues. That's another one of my dogs agreeing with me. That getting people just to change the way they look at things is quite hard. But I think there is an exponential growth in veganism at the moment, which is powerful. It's like a tsunami. And I think that if we were around in 50 years' time, we would say, you know what we used to eat 50 years ago? It's unbelievable. I mean, when I hope our planet is healed, and when we have renewed the health of our planet, as well as the health of the people who live on it, I think that people will look back, certainly for around this arc, as a shocking period of time.
Well, there you go, Peter. That's a very inspirational hope, and it's one I share. And I think you're right. I think the fact that you mentioned that as the prime opposition, I don't think there's a mystery to it. It's the multi-trillion-dollar industry behind this, and that's the work we've got to do.
And also the fact that when someone else, not me, said once the big companies realized that there was a money market for veganism, they all thought, yeah, let's get in. And that's happened as well, and I salute that. But, you know, it's not just happening because of faith and belief. It's happening because it makes economic sense. And also the people, when they do really...
So thank you ever so much for all the work you do. You know, like, there are a lot of people who love to hear you. We could quite happily have you back. And I think, Karin, you're inviting Peter back for another go. Perhaps at Summerfest even. I'm not sure about that. So hopefully we'll have you attending soon again, Peter.
And
but honestly, we are...
Anytime. It's great talking to you. Lots of love to Karin and to you, Tim. And do give my love. Thank you back.
Love you, Peter. Thank you so much. Thank you.
Yeah.
Bye. Oh, I just love Peter Egan, don't you? He's so fantastic.
He really is. He's very articulate, and I like the you know, the transition there. There's an honesty too, because Peter's come to veganism a bit later in life. He's got this whole wealth of experience, and then, you know, last 5-6 years gone vegan, and now there's this clarity. I love it. I'm very grateful. Thank you, Peter. Thank you very much for coming on. And listeners, I do hope you've enjoyed our guest. And of course, our guests just come on for free. They come on, they give up some time. And we're very grateful for all our guests. Indeed, our next guest is not quite here yet. But well, it will be possibly. But Karin, we've got a little bit to chat about first. I think we've got some more Summerfest news and views. Don't forget, people, that we've got Summerfest coming up in 3 weeks' time, and it's free to attend. It's on the 14th, 15th, 16th of August. And there's a number of features as you get at Vegfest. So we've got a number of features. You've got, different areas. And indeed, the first one that we've got is the Karin Ridgers Celebrity Super Summer Special, Summerfest Special.
That's a tongue twister.
Live stream at 8 p.m. Saturday. Here's Karin with one of our guests who we had on 3 weeks ago, Jeremy from the Levelers. You've already got some wondrous guests confirmed. Tell us a bit more about this in about 30 seconds.
Oh, gosh, I love it. I've invited some really great people, and we get to hang out with them, my lovely Vegfest friends. You can see them in person when Vegfest is back up and running, and obviously hang out online with them. We've got already the fantastic actress Carol Royal. She is beautiful. I think she's probably acted with Peter as well in the past. We've got up-and-coming pop star Tally Spear. Again, both passionate vegans. We've also got wonderful TV star Wendy Turner-Webster, who we love, and Gary Webster, the actor who has gone from veggie to vegan and is loving it. So he is going to be joining us. And there's some other surprises as well. We have had apologies from Brian May, who wishes he could be there, but we do send Brian May all the very best. He's had a tough time of it recently, and he's taking some time out to recover. But fingers crossed, he will be back with us, or hopefully with us, I should say, later on in the year.
Great, Karin. So that's going to be amazing. And then on the Sunday, very briefly, we're going to have another session. We've got a busy weekend, you and I, lined up. We've got plenty to chat about, but we will be having a number of global guests on the Sunday, August 16th. We'll be inviting some of the global organisers of different Vegfests around the world to just sort of try out our first live stream, really going global. And another really interesting live stream we've got actually is at 1 o'clock on the Saturday, the August 15th. Attendance free, registration's free, and that's the Animal Rights Show. The Animal Rights Academy will have a number of presentations about, for instance, Tom Reagan, the founder of the animal rights movement. There'll be a presentation about some animal experiments, various issues and areas, and a live stream with Dr. Roger Yates and Dr. Jeremy Hess. It's not actually a doctor, but Dr. Roger Yates is a doctor. So Dr. Roger Yates, Jeremy Hess presenting the Animal Rights Academy on Saturday. That'll be a crack. We're looking forward to that one.
Absolutely. Yeah, sounds fantastic. I hope I get to tune in, because obviously you and I, Tim, are going to be working very hard as well.
We've got a full schedule, Karin. We are on at 9 o'clock in the morning on Saturday with our chat show. And of course, on the Friday, on August the 14th, we also have our Trade and Media Day. Now, this is important. Trade and Media Day, including a look at some of the suppliers and manufacturers. I know we've got Tammy Fry from Fry's Vegetarian Foods who's going to be a guest, and some really interesting people. And it's hosted by Katrina Fox from Vegan Business Media. And Katrina's working in partnership with us. Katrina worked with us 3 years ago on our trade day and has fantastic experience, some wonderful contacts, and some really good input. So that's one of the trade day sessions. It's free to attend for delegates, so especially for independent retailers, natural health retailers, caterers, hospitality trade. So basically, if your local health food store, if they want to come along Friday, August 14th, they can come along the trade day. I know you're looking forward to that, Karin. You've got a media session on the Friday, I think at 5 p.m.
Yeah, I really do. I mean, I left my private banking career, it seems like a lifetime ago, to set up my own vegan PR company. And so for 15 years, I've been liaising with journalists, working with influencers now and bloggers. And some people are quite nervous about journalists, but what I'm seeing now is there's more and more vegan journalists, which I particularly love. So I'm going to be bringing some really exciting people on board, and they're going to be telling us what they're looking for stories, how you can gain editorial awareness. And they're on our side because they are fellow vegans as well. So it's invaluable advice, especially really for, I think, if you are a blogger yourself, if you are an influencer yourself, and if you are a small business owner as well.
So there you go. Yeah, that's about the trade day. Katrina Fox, as we mentioned, there's Katrina, that she runs Vegan Business Media. So she's in a similar sort of services there, doing vegan PR. And the beauty about this trade day is basically it's free information for delegates, also small vegan business owners, people getting started. If you're in the trade, you want to network, if you're maybe going into retail, or if you are already a shop that's perhaps having to diversify, you've been supplying catering, vegan food. So, this trade day is set up really. And Katrina playing a big part in that and sharing some of this. She's also hosting the Vegan Women's Leadership Network, which is on the weekend, on the Saturday and Sunday. And Karin Ridders, you are now an honorary member of the Vegan Women's Leadership Network. Katrina Fox and I went halves. Yes, indeed. We struck a deal. So a women leader. Talking of women leaders, Dr. Shireen Kassam will be another very prominent figure at the Summerfest, because Dr. Kassam is the one of the coordinators of the Plant-Based Health Professionals UK, and with her colleague Dr. Layla Dogan, will be presenting at the show. Some fantastic, again, free advice for the public, wealth of information. And I think maybe we might even have, possibly as a guest, certainly on the weekend, I think Dr. Shireen Kassam will be joining us as a guest, I think.
Yeah, and you've got to put this in your diary. If you are coming to Summerfest, you have to make sure you get to hang out with Dr. Kassam. You can't do this on a regular day-to-day basis. She is a very busy doctor. She really knows her stuff, and this is why you have to book your tickets for Summerfest. You get to hang out with people like Dr. Kassam, and it's free. It's crazy stuff. But yeah, I'm a big fan of Dr. Kassam as well, as I am for this lovely lady here who is so passionate about vegan food. And Nishma and I go back a really long way. In fact, I think she came to my vegan festival in Essex, so probably about 17 years ago. So really great that she's coming on board with Summerfest as well.
Yeah, and Nishma's going to be doing a cookery demo. So there's plenty of cookery demos, presentations going to be available, as well also as a live stream. So this is the kind of pattern we've got at the event, is you get to see some pre-presentations that you can watch at any time. You've obviously got loads of wonderful exhibitors. You've got some live streams that you can tune in at a specific time. And then you've also got the chat rooms. You can go and chat to people, have a chat about stuff. You could bump into somebody like this gentleman here, Dr. Roger Yates. Dr. Yates would be part of the Animal Rights Academy. He'll be available to chat at various times, also hosting a live stream, 1 p.m. Saturday, and recently published a series of blogs about the history of the vegan social movement, which is in part forming the basis of my talk at Vegfest Morocco in a week's time. So very grateful for Roger's contributions, indeed.
Yeah, definitely. And the history is so vital. We do stand on the shoulders of giants, people that have made this easier for us, that were plant-based, they were vegan 80 years ago and even longer. So I've got much respect for the history, and I think it's something we should all familiarise ourselves with. And Dr. Roger Yates, he absolutely knows his stuff. He's such a great guy. Does make me laugh as well. If he's watching, Roger, I am a fan of yours. Actually, as Drew Cameron as well. He makes me laugh, but for different reasons.
Talking of making you laugh, good cue, Karen. Well done. I'm impressed with that. Because obviously, things like animal rights, also your health, they're serious issues. But, part of the beauty of the Vegfest has always been we mix it up a bit with some comedy, with some music. None other than Drew Cameron here, stand-up comedian. He's really funny, actually, and quite reputable. Quite some honourable achievements to his name, indeed. So we do get some pretty astoundingly good talent, actually, at the event.
Yeah, he's a lovely guy. And again, I know I mentioned my radio show, but he come on my radio show just over the phone because he's based quite far away. And he, in particular, does lots of impersonations. And they're really spot on. So, yeah, that's guaranteed to make you smile.
Brilliant, Karin. Well, look, that's a roundup again of our Summerfest. And that just about leaves us time for our next guest. And Karin, before we have our next guest on, I do want to say, just as I managed to get in a few words before you came on, how very impressed I am during this lockdown by our next guest. Juliet Gellatley has got some stamina and some high energy for promoting veganism right now. And this last few months especially has been absolutely standout and has really been inspiration for a lot of people because they're just the sheer volume of work, the commitment, the drive, the energy, the stamina I mentioned, doing things like 14 radio interviews back to back. And she still found time to come onto our show, which is very good of Juliet. And again, Karin, thank you for inviting Juliet. And we're very happy, I think, to be joined by such an esteemed and respected member of the vegan community. Juliet Gellatley, here you go.
Hello. Thanks for coming on. I know you're such a busy lady. And I want to say, I don't want to embarrass Juliet, but she is such an inspiration and has been for probably 25 years. And I still remember that I opened the magazine called Vegetarian Living. There was one 25 years ago, and this lady stood out to me, and I thought, I've got to get to know Juliet Gellatley. And I just felt for the first time, I'm not alone. And I've been a big supporter and a fan. I don't want to cry, bloody Peter Egan. Juliet makes me cry. I just have no words. This lady is incredible, the biggest mover and shaker. I know we've got Tim, we've got other, but Juliet Gellatley and Viva just takes everything to the next level. So thank you, Juliet. And sorry I'm a bit gushing, but I'm your fan.
I can remember our first meeting, Karin, which must be, 2 decades ago.
No.
When you came to Viva's offices when we were in our first proper offices in Brighton. And you were so enthusiastic, and Glyn was there, and you were like, okay, I want to help you. And I said, okay, set up a local group, and that's what you did. I've been in touch ever since.
Oh, I'm so pleased you remember that. Oh, honestly, I don't want to cry. You're doing amazing things. But like we did maybe with Peter and Adamski, and, I want to just take it right back if we can. Because you must have had such a big turning point, because your whole life is dedicated to the animals, to veganism. What was it all those years ago that was that turning point for you then when you thought, no, this is wrong and I have to do something about it? What was that?
I was brought up as a meat eater out and out and didn't know any vegetarians and hadn't even heard of the word vegan. And I know it's really hard for people to understand this now, but there was no Google, there was no online presence at all. So if you believed in something, you couldn't, automatically access a group of like-minded people. And there was nobody in my school who felt the same at all. My mum said when she's talked back about it that she's just said you fought for the underdog, and it was just something in your nature right from the beginning. You were rescuing animals. I rescued a cat who had 3 kittens in my wardrobe. I was about 8. And so it went on. And I think in answer to your question, I then found out from a leaflet actually about factory farming, and was horrified and very naively thought all I have to do is tell people about this and people will instantly change. Of course they will. Why wouldn't they? And I thought I'll find out about this myself. And being the bolshy bugger that I am, even as an early teenager, I managed to wrangle my way into the biggest factory farm then in the UK, which was in the Midlands, and saw it for myself. And that was truly the changing point. I didn't know it was the seeds for Viva, but of course it was. And I actually manoeuvred my whole life from that point onwards to be able to fight for animals. I did my degree in zoology specifically to understand animals. And, from that point onwards, everything was geared. I was just so determined I was going to do something to change the world and help people become vegan. And I did think it would be an easier job than it has been. And I was warned off it by people very close to me saying, why don't you campaign on something much simpler where you'll get a lot more money? People won't give to this. They don't want to change. But I've been at it ever since. And as you obviously both are more than aware of the changes that we've seen, it seems slow sometimes, doesn't it? Painfully slow, especially when you know the consequences of not being vegan. But on the other hand, if you look at it as a point in history, the change is incredibly fast now, I think, and will get ever faster.
How long ago was that? Because we're not talking 5 years ago, are we? 10 years ago?
No, I am 105, Karin.
So well. All that vegan food.
Viva's 26 years old this year. Yeah. So I started campaigning before that. So I've been campaigning over 3 decades. Shit.
But you wouldn't change it. I mean, what else would you do? Do you think, oh my gosh, I wish I'd done this, I wish I'd done that? I mean, I couldn't think of anything else that I would do, but obviously you're at a much higher level. Would you want to do anything else, Juliet?
I think there was a real need for Viva when Viva was founded. There wasn't a campaigning organisation, and we were like pretty much the first to go out doing the investigations on factory farms. Yeah. It needed exposing very much so, and sadly still does today. So no, I wouldn't change it. Definitely not.
Who are these guys? I do know, but
who are they? Finn's the one standing up, and Jazz is the one sat down. So they're my twin sons, and they are 18 in 3 weeks. Good God. So they've been, brought up vegan, and I just thought, people can kind of forget that you've got a family life and you've got other sides to you and all the rest of it. So I just wanted to show Jazz and Finn, because obviously I had them after I founded Viva. And so they've been, with me throughout that whole experience of having a mum who's running a campaigning organisation, bless them. And I just wanted to say about Jazz and Finn, it's interesting. Kids go through different phases. It's very different for them, because I was brought up a meat eater where they was, it's the opposite. So they went through a phase when they were sort of like questioning that. And then came through that. They had the peer pressure kind of thing when they were at 13, 14. And I have to say now they feel so strongly about veganism and so passionate. And in fact, Jazz spoke at Camp House, and he spoke out for Regan Russell in honour of her recently. So I'm just so proud of them.
They're lovely. And who's this then?
Well, this is excuse the cliche of the name, it's Peppa Pig. she's actually, so we formed Viva Poland many years ago now. That's a whole story in its own right, forming another organisation in another country. But Peppa Pig is part of Viva Poland Sanctuary. We have about 200 animals there just outside Warsaw. This is me in what was called Necton Farm over in Norfolk. So these animals are breeding sows, and they are in what are called the rape racks. So I made a connection with one of them who had the bluest of blue eyes, and we called her Blue. And that was one experience I found very, very difficult indeed, because you find mechanisms of coping with this stuff, and she just broke through all those barriers. And I found that pretty difficult to deal with, I must admit. Yeah.
Gosh, it must be. I mean, what you have seen and gone through, you do this, Juliet, and no one else can. I mean, there are very few people. I mean, I'm passionate about veganism, as you know, but to go through things like this, I don't think I'm a strong enough person.
I think you do have to be a certain type of person, because years ago, I'm talking now, but I remember somebody, bless her, she was going to get in her local slaughterhouse and film, and actually she did. It doesn't matter how, but she did. And she actually had a breakdown afterwards. It was just entirely the wrong thing for her to do. And, I stayed friends with her and, tried to mentor her in campaigning in other ways, because she felt this need that she should be there seeing it. Some people, it's not the right thing to do. There's a million things you can do to promote veganism. And as long as you're doing something positive, that's what counts. Obviously you need to do the investigations. Yes, you're right. It does take a certain kind of personality. And I think, fortunately for me, and I do think it's genetic, I am able to bounce back. And some people find that much, much tougher. I have built mechanisms to cope with it over the years. Don't ask me what they are, because I just don't talk about it, and that's one of my mechanisms. So, it's just been a very necessary thing to do, because it's all hidden, as you well know, and people need to see it. I mean, it was seeing those images myself that changed me, and I know has changed millions of others.
That's amazing.
The it went on to was the Paul McCartney one. Just before this one was oh yes, that was it. I was the winner of the first, the Pride of Britain Awards, which became an annual event. And I remember that because Paul McCartney chose me himself, so they couldn't say no. I have it on fairly good authority at the time that they really didn't want me to win. They wanted something much more mainstream to win.
No!
But Paul McCartney insisted, and so I was the first one to get that award. And I can remember standing in this hotel. It was the Dorchester, and it was every British actor stroke pop star you can think of that was big at the time. And it was the Spice Girls, it was the Prime Minister was there, who was Tony Blair at the time, Richard Branson was there, it was Cilla Black, who was huge at the time. And I remember going up to take this award of Paul McCartney and standing in front of them, and they'd said, like, don't speak. And I thought, I won't say, I was going to swear then. I've got a tendency to swear. So I'll just go beep to that. And I went up to the microphone and went, I was so proud to win this award in Linda's name because, and then I just went into one about why veganism was the future. And it just went, I'm not kidding, it went deathly silent. You could hear a pin drop. Really and truly. So this is going back. So it's the first award. So what was that, about 99? And I just thought it was a nice little memory to show you of something, and also a reminder for us all of things have really changed, because a lot of those stars in that actually changed themselves after that. I sat on a table with a boxer who was like, "Oh, Juliet," and at the end of it, he goes, "Oh, I'm thinking about going vegan." And it was quite an event. It was, and it led to some useful contacts as well. I went to dinner with Paul McCartney after it as well, and all that kind of stuff. So it was, it was good. It was good. It's always nice to win an award. It's not something I think about very much anymore at all, obviously, in terms of that kind of things, because I just tend to live day to day and look at the future. I don't tend to look back. But you asked me for photos, so I know.
And it's really nice to get to know more of you and to get more, more of things that have happened. It's really exciting. And, I think it would have been such a shame to not have that opportunity, like Joaquin Phoenix really doing his big speech, isn't it? And it's waking people up, which is
absolutely, it's so unusual still, really, to get people as outspoken as him, and it tends to be people who are very secure in their career. He's kind of, I wouldn't say beyond criticism, but he's proved himself. Can we put it that way?
Definitely.
I mean, even I don't know if you do find it, but even today I found with some younger stars who are not quite there that they're much more scared of really being very outspoken, whereas some of the older stars, put it that way, are doing so much good and using their position of power to influence people in such a good way. I mean, Lewis Hamilton, when we launched Hogwood, the documentary, very recently, he went on Instagram and actually asked all his followers to watch it. And, we didn't know that was going to happen. And I was just like, oh, and immediately 22,000 people had watched the trailer before it even launched. And that kind of helped. Very useful.
Of course it is. Using their power to influence for the good and to help people realise that it's a fantastic decision. It's the most important decision you are ever going to make in your life is to be vegan. There's no other more important decision, I don't think. Tim, did you? Yeah.
No, I was just going to, confirming that the impact of it is so much bigger than most people are aware. I mean, the vast majority of people, you have to remember, in the UK do still consume meat. So there's still, a big way to go. But every way we turn now, I mean, from the latest pandemic, as if it's over, it's certainly not over, but from pandemics through to antibiotic resistance, which is going to be one of the next biggest issue we have to face. And I think the other one that we've not even begun to understand and face in Britain is food security. And we at Viva, one of the things going forward, are looking at a vegan Britain in terms of mapping out what Britain could look like. Which is a real pleasure for me to do because I've spent so much time explaining to people why they need to change. And it's so lovely working with agriculturists on something so positive because we're in a very privileged position in a temperate climate. We've got very good soils. We can do so much with Britain that we can pretty much be totally self-sustaining if we want to be. And not everybody can say that. So there's a lot to work with and there's a lot of work to do, not least trying to, because unfortunately with stuff like this you do need governmental involvement, and then it becomes it slows it all down and it becomes more difficult because I'm used to doing consumer campaigning. And I chose that very deliberately because I've always thought politicians, certainly in the UK, follow public opinion. They don't need it. So you need to change the people and you need them to demand change. And of course that's what's happening with industry now. It's the fact that they're seeing that demand is out there, and that's due to consumer campaigning, and that's what Viva's always focused on. And it's empowering because although you've got all the horror of what's happening to animals and the environment and to people's health for that matter, the other side of that coin is the fact that thousands of people contact you saying something Viva's done has changed me. And so you're empowered back and you're invigorated to carry on. Whereas with political campaigning, that can be a much slower, tougher road and much more frustrating. But we now are at the point in the world where we need intergovernmental cooperation to do things like ban factory farming. And I really mean that. And I fancy a day when meat is banned. And it's not something I used to talk about because banning something kind of goes against the grain, for in some ways, that you want people to come to these things naturally. But I think the urgency now is here where we've kind of gone beyond it being a choice, and what choice do those animals have, what choice does our fragile planet have and all its wildlife. So I think the next 10 years are going to be very big years, very, very big years for the vegan movement worldwide.
Wow. Can you tell us a little bit more about the film at the moment? Because that's the current big focus of Viva right now, isn't it?
So we launched Hogwood very recently, and that's on Amazon Prime, Apple Play, Google Play. And it's just gone worldwide to about 60 other countries as well. And the response has been overwhelming and overwhelmingly positive. So, and I don't, you don't know that that's going to be the case, do you? That was a difficult documentary. It's a short documentary, but I can announce that we have just won the British film. Hang on, let me get this right. The British Film Festival. We were nominated by them for 2 sections, and we've won the section on animals. So that is really, we were up against really stiff competition as well in much easier fields, if you know what I mean. So they've gone for the more controversial documentary. So I'm so delighted by that. We haven't actually announced that anywhere else yet. So that's fabulous. So to get that kind of mainstream support. But Yeah, I mean, Hogwood, you probably are well aware, we filmed in Hogwood, which is a so-called mega farm. So in the UK now we have these class of mega farms, so they're obviously the extra large ones. They were supplying Tesco, our biggest retailer, and we went in 2017, 2018 and in 2019. And I have to be honest, I genuinely thought, after all the years of my investigations, that Tesco dropped them, like the proverbial hot potato, because the neglect in there was so severe. And I've seen a lot. And they didn't. They just stuck their heels in and said, we'll work with the farm to improve. And so the going back in was hard, because all the farm had done, in my opinion, really spend £50,000 on high security and not on the animals at all. So all it did was make it a lot more difficult for us to get back in. But we did, and we filmed again. What we found was so bad that we stopped the investigation and called the police and vets. Yeah, just terrible place. We contacted Tesco again. I have to say, amongst all this, the response from the British public was phenomenal. We got massive national media support. We got support from the British meat-eating public, because even you'll understand this, but they'll say they want to eat meat, but not from conditions like that. You know what I mean? It's part of the process of them shifting their psyche and their understanding of what we do to animals to eat them. And so the support was huge. And then in the end, in 2019, we left hidden cameras, and that's when we got them hitting the animals. And then Tesco, it wasn't because Tesco cared, it was because Tesco could not justify any longer supporting this mega farm. And so they did drop them as the Cranswick Foods. Nobody's heard of Cranswick Foods, but they're huge. They're one of the biggest pork suppliers in the UK. And they dropped them and said they would never deal with them again. But the much more important, bigger point for me was one of the biggest questions we get from the British public when we do things like the 3D footage, and you get people who really haven't got a clue about factory farming, and you'll get people from every walk of life sharing this stuff when we go to city after city after city. And the thing they really can't get their heads around is that this is legal, and that when we expose it, it isn't just shut down immediately by the authorities. And again, it's going back to the rose-tinted spectacles I had when I first came into this movement. And I thought the same. All we need to do is expose it. Of course, the government will shut it down. How could this be going on in the UK? And so Hog was part of the explanation for people to make it clear what organisations like Viva are up against when you expose something. And that ultimately, it goes back to what I was just saying a minute ago. It's down to you, the individual, to take responsibility for your own choices, because the government doesn't take these choices for you. They support factory farming through and through, as do the supermarkets who prop it up and lie. So we've just, and I say that with absolute confidence, because we just exposed Morrison's, who two farms supplying them. I won't go into the cruelty and the gore. I'll just take it from me, terrible, okay? But it was Morrison's this time. Morrison's lie to the media and say, Viva have exposed these farms. Those farms do not supply Morrison's. And they will go on national media and say that. Viva, well, that's strange, because we've taken photographs of where these animals go. And it's a slaughterhouse that's exclusively owned by Morrison's, for Morrison's. And then they just go silent. And that is the modus operandi. That's, again, it's trying to get the public to understand that these big corporations lie through their teeth. We don't. And we've got, sweet all money. But we do have truth on our side. We don't need to exaggerate that truth, because the truth is so bad. But they do. They have loads of money, and they don't have good on their side. It sounds, a little bit cliched, but it is true. And so their modus operandi is to get the media to withdraw the story, to not make a comment or just say they don't supply us. It is so barefaced and so brazen. But a lot of the media will fall for that and pull the story. And they did it with us. We had it placed in a national. They pulled on it because Morrison wouldn't comment. We went back in through other journalists and actually managed to place it. In fact, it went on the Daily Mail Online, which is the biggest online service in the world. And then it went out wider than that once it was placed there. But believe me, it's been a tough job to get this stuff out to the public. So, yeah, it's investigating. It's hard, but it's exceptionally necessary. And there's a strange. It sounds contradictory, but in the UK and beyond, we've got a situation where factory farming is becoming more intensive, more and more and more intensive. and yet at the same time veganism is exploding. And it sounds contradictory, but the two things are running parallel at the moment. And what we've got to make sure is, of course, that veganism gets to the point where it's just not worth their while factory farming any animal anymore, and that the British public just put them to shame and just don't. We just don't allow this as a people anymore. And I do believe that I genuinely do believe we are heading towards that point.
Juliet, that's just amazing. I know Tim might have a question. I know I could talk to you for about 8 hours, if not longer. But you have confidence, you have an inner strength, you light up the room, you really know your stuff. What keeps giving you the drive to go on and forward? 30 years of campaigning, you've made huge differences all throughout the world. I remember in Australia, Poland, all over the UK. What drives you? So we can take it on board and, have some of it ourselves. What drives you, Juliet?
What drives me first and foremost are the issues themselves. I've looked into the eyes of so many animals. I'm not going to give up ever. I will fight till my dying day. That gives me energy. Rather than it dragging me down, I allow it to energize myself. Secondly, you have to take care of yourself. There's no point being a martyr to the cause. You must take holidays, you must take breaks, you must give time to your family and your partner, so that you always come back to this fresh. I will go away from Viva, and as I'm away, sort of like physically away, I will be thinking up lots of new ideas, and they will become really obvious to me that that's what we should be doing. And that comes to me precisely because I am away from the everyday routine. And so it's giving yourself that space to do that. And thirdly, it's surrounding yourself with people that support your organisation. And obviously our organisation now, because it's relatively old, is filled with thousands of supporters that believe in what we do, and back up what we do. So having that support means everything. And so it means that when you do something like Call a Day of Action, you can actually fulfill that. With Hogwood, we did an investigation within 4 weeks. We were outside 150 different Tesco stores across the UK. That does not happen by accident. That's a lot of building and nurturing people. But it's not just us nurturing them; they nurture back. And there are just so many nice people involved with Viva. So that's an energising force too.
That's amazing. Thank you, Juliet. Tim?
Juliet, thank you. It's been a pleasure. I really appreciate you giving up your time to come on, because I know you're really busy.
That's a pleasure.
I think the listeners will have had a really interesting insight there, because I think you talked about one or two areas perhaps I don't always talk about. So Karin, thank you for inviting Juliet. We've had some fantastic guests. We had Peter on earlier, Juliet. Obviously, is a big Viva supporter, and it is really good to have people who are basically basically taking a lead. But the leadership is about inspiring other people to lead themselves. And when you see people stand up and just get on with it and do their very best tirelessly, it is an inspiration. That in itself, and I know Peter does a lot of that, but I know you do even more of it. So there you go. Thank you. Not just to you two, though. I know you've got a very hard-working team.
Yeah, absolutely.
Don't always get the limelight. I know you take the limelight because you're the right person for the limelight. But of course, behind you is a really hard-working team, dedicated. You don't always get much gratitude. So on behalf of everyone here, thank you to all the Viva team.
Yeah, the Viva team at the moment is particularly strong. I'm really proud of the staff, and a lot of them have been with us for years. So they are. They're
really showing. They're really glowing. You've been so dynamic in this lockdown. I mean, really streets ahead. It really has been a whole. You've seized the moment. Talking of moments, we have come to the moment where we're going to say goodbye. I wish you very well. Thank you again for coming on, and we hope to see you again soon, Juliet. Good luck with everything.
Juliet. Thank you for everything and inspiration to me for many years. Thank you, and to many others. Thank you. Oh, I just was hanging on to her every word. I love Juliet. She's lovely, but I love all the guests we get to hang out with, Tim.
Well, it's great to see Juliet so relaxed because, you know, it is a high-pressure job. You talked about some of the trauma and dealing with that. But also, you know, the level of stamina I mentioned about just doing all the radio interviews. I mean, it sounds easy to come on and etc. But it's not that easy. It's a lot of work. I mean, I fancy a pint after this, I must admit. Anyway, look, Karin, thank you so much again for bringing such interesting guests. And in many respects, I'd love to spend a bit longer. It always seems that, you know, we get going and then we kind of moving on. But that's because we're an hour chat show. We're already running an hour 20, and that's absolutely fine. So, but we will be wrapping up now. And just a little one, just to say, guys, girls, people, friends, family, etc., if you're watching, we are a free event now. We are challenged, undoubtedly, by the lockdown and the lack of events. If you like what we're doing, you're very welcome to become a friend of Vegfest. A bit of support, that'll be going, especially when we do the event at Summerfest, as it were, putting the hat round. We're not shy, but it'll also help pay for, you know, a little bit towards some of the performers and such like. We want to try and find a little bit of a fee for comedians and musicians, especially who are just so out of work and challenged. Moving on, we've got Vegfest London coming up. That's going to be in November, so we're kind of working on that now too. We're going to expand that. It's online with Olympia being shut currently, and there may be some plans to reopen, possibly with a pilot. We don't know, but it's going to be very stripped down and very challenging. Good luck to anyone doing that. It won't be us. We're not in a position to do that anymore. And we are in a position to do the online event. So, and Karin, that is something that we'll be working on. We get the chance to bring in guests, do the StreamYards, do the Zooms and the live streams and stuff. And it's a good crack. It's a good crack, huh?
It's good, you know, and my lovely viewer out there, we get to hang out with really interesting people, fellow vegans you can connect with, fantastic doctors, cookery expert, nutritional expert, the most brilliant people, whether it's at Plant Powered or Vegfest, Summerfest, our summer special. We get to hang out with the most brilliant people. It's fantastic, Tim.
Yeah, well, I'm glad we're able to keep going. We are online now. We've got Plant Powered Expo next March. That's going to include a trade day. There's quite a good trade show focus. I cannot say it's easy right now running a business in this area. We did experience a 100% drop off in revenue, turnover, income, and it's a very difficult time to work through, not only for us, but a number of our exhibitors too. So keep going, people, keep in there, keep honest, keep open, keep the lines of communication open, try and be there for each other, even if it's not always good news, at least be there and try and reassure people and keep working. Don't give in, basically, you know. And if you're struggling, yeah, I'm struggling too. I think a lot of us are, but we can struggle together, and when we work together, it becomes a bit easier. We've got our next chat show on the 7th, actually, Karin. That's in 2 weeks.
Yes.
We have yet to confirm our guests. We've got a pretty good idea who they are. We've invited them.
Yes.
Actually, yes, but we're not going to announce them yet because we just want to be double sure before we do so. But 2 weeks from now, we'll be back for our pre-Summerfest special Summerfest show special. And that'll be live 5 p.m. with our guests. And you'll be joining us again then, won't you, Kate? You've got some guests lined up. We might have a surprise.
Yeah. I'm really excited. And again, whether you're listening and watching this live Friday just after 6 p.m. or you're watching it at any time, give us some loves and likes. They are right in front. Give us some loves and likes. Share the video. We do this to promote a positive vegan message. Support us just by sharing. Share to a vegan group or share on your own, you know, Facebook page, or you can tweet us or whatever you do. Help us get the message out there, because it makes it even more exciting for us. And we know that you like what we're doing. Yeah. Tim, where has tonight flown to?
I know we've had a wonderful hour and a half, well, hour 25. I really enjoy it. It's been such a pleasure. It's such a good sort of thing, because, you know, we are at a time now, it's pretty crucial. And we heard a lot from Juliet about, you know, government moves and what she's trying to do with her work. And it is a crucial time. I think it's up to us all to try and step up now and try and really help support a growth in a number of different areas. So, you know, we always leave on this note, Karin, with Tom Regan. And Tom Regan is a professor. Tom kind of founded the animal rights thing, and he talks about the rights of animals. You know, rights of animals isn't something that we grant. You know, it's something that animals have already. It's something that we recognise and then try and uphold. And really, we're just talking about that one basic right for animals, you know, not to be owned, not to be used, not to be killed, and not to be sold for profit, and not to be commodified. And that's really at the heart of the vegan position. So if you've been watching, if you've been inspired by this, yes and do, you know, and if you found it really dull and boring, well, you know, such is life. We love doing it. I know how you find Karin Ridge dull and boring. I certainly found our guests really interesting. Peter Egan, fantastic tonight. Juliet Gellatley, really on fire and on point. And as always, Karin, a pleasure to have your good self. Thank you. And I think before I just say goodbye, I'll say goodbye now. Karin, if you want to say goodbye, and then we'll go.
Just really thank you for watching. And I want to say again, Pete behind the scenes, our producer, thank you so much, Pete. You're amazing. And I just want to say to Mr. B, thank you for everything and all the support and opportunities. I'm very thankful that we're such good friends. We get to hang out, and I just love being part of Vegfest and Vegfest Chat. So thank you, Tim.
Thank you, Karin. We'll see you at Summerfest hopefully in 3 weeks. We'll see you again in 2 weeks in our chat show. And until then, we'll leave you once more with the wonderful words of Professor Tom Regan. And let's hope that we can move into a world where animals are no longer used as property. Thank you. Good night.
My wife Nancy and I were active in the anti-war movement during the Vietnam period. And we were thinking that America should not be involved in that war because it involved violence that we didn't think could be justified. And during that period we thought about other aspects of our life that might involve violence. And we read Gandhi's work, and Gandhi's basically spoke from the page to us, so to speak, and said, if you think that violence against human beings is wrong if you can't justify it, how can you justify those dead body parts you mentioned in your freezer? And if you can justify that, please tell me, Professor Regan, so to speak, and if not, think about it. And so we thought about it, and we couldn't find a good reason that would justify that kind of violence.
The other animals humans eat, use in science, hunt, trap, and exploit in a variety of other ways have a life of their own that is of importance to them apart from their utility to us. They are not only in the world, they are aware of it and also of what happens to them. And what happens to them matters to them. Each has a life that fares experientially better or worse for the one whose life it is. Like us, they bring a unified psychological presence to the world. Like us, they are some bodies, not some things.